teach you not just coding, but to teach you how to build a backend project. Now, if I'm going to teach you how to build a backend project, there is something I want you to understand with me, is that we are building a backend project with JavaScript. We are building our backend project with JavaScript. Some people say Java, before people will argue that JavaScript is not good. There's a friend of mine, he's working with an Italian company. He contacted me and said the Italian company wants to move their project from Laravel to Node.js, if I can handle it. I said I can handle it, but it's about the pay, because it's a big job, a system that is already existing and you're converting it to Node.js. I can't, but I've had that issue before, from Laravel to, I think, was it Python to, I think it's Laravel to Node.js. So what I'm saying is, we are building with JavaScript. My job is not to teach you everything in JavaScript. You can build your front JavaScript. You can build a mobile app with JavaScript. You can build machine learning with JavaScript, AI with JavaScript, IoT with JavaScript. So what we are doing is we learn the part of JavaScript that we need to write backend. Now, there are so many aspects of JavaScript which you are supposed to learn, but we're not going to go learn all of them, because most of them, we do not need them now. We need some, but that basic one that we need, that is what we're going to learn. We'll learn it, and then we'll move on to programming. What we have been doing so far, if with my explanation, is actually coding. I've been teaching you coding, which you can use to do so many things, but we need to put them together to solve a problem. And if you solve a problem, that becomes programming. And then by the time we solve 1, 2, 3 programming together, we're going to deploy the backend. That becomes a software. And now you're a software developer. So just bear with me. I may not go into everything, but that's the case. All right, let's continue today. Please, if you can hear me very well and you can see my screen, drop a thumbs up. I don't know where this folder is. I can't find it again. Let me see. You can hear me very well and we're good to go. So I'm going to start by creating a new project. We are gradually coming to the end of the basics, which means we're going to be doing something bigger by next week. So if we're going to be doing something bigger by next week, I want you to do me a favor. Head over to Node.js. This is Node.js.org. I want you to download Node.js. Yeah, I'll share the please, by next week you should have downloaded this already. Download Node.js. Next is going to be, now we have passed the stage of submitting assignments with Google Drive. Even though we are not using Git yet, we are using drag and drop. But please download Git. You need Git. Next thing is post one. These are required for our next class on Monday. Not on Monday, next week, Saturday. There will be no class on Sunday, but the attendance will be open so that you mark your attendance. As we backend developers, we don't know when is weekend or when is Monday or when is Easter. We don't know those days. But if we get the opportunity to decide, we pick holidays. You understand? So that's why I'm just picking the holidays. I'm used to working on Sundays and even on Easter, but I don't want to work tomorrow. It's just a personal decision. So get these 3 things is needed for next week's class. All right, that being said, I think we're done with this. Any question before we begin? Any question, please? Any question? If there is no question, please drop a thumbs up again so that we can begin today's class. Amira, please. Amira, can you request for the mic so that I can see you easier, or do you want to type for it? Um, you just request for mic so that I can see you. If you already have them, you don't need to download them again. When are we going to have replacement class for tomorrow? Okay, we're not having a replacement class since Sunday is cancelled. Our next class is next week, Saturday and Sunday. So we're not having a replacement. Yes, we're going to look at the difference between return and consular. Can you drop the things that are needed here? It's dropped in the resources. So if you go to the resources topic, you'll find them. What is the difference between TypeScript, Node.js, React, and JavaScript? Number one, all of them. Now we're going to learn. You know what? Let me not explain them. Just stick to the one we are teaching you. We're teaching JavaScript. So that's what we are learning. Now, React is a JavaScript framework. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime. TypeScript is the senior brother of JavaScript. So let me explain. JavaScript is a programming language that you use to write or build any software or program you want to build. But if that program you want to build the front end, you can use React.js to build it, the front end alone. If you want to build the back end of that software, you use Node.js to build it. Now, TypeScript and JavaScript are the same thing. TypeScript and JavaScript are the same thing, but the difference is that for JavaScript, you don't need to specify which one is a string, which one is a boolean, which one is null, which one is an object, which one is an array. You don't need to specify your variable types in JavaScript. But in TypeScript, it's compulsory. If you are using any variable, you must specify the type of that variable. So that's the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript. But they are the same thing. The same thing. I write JavaScript, I write TypeScript. They are the same thing. You're going to be writing TypeScript by the time you land your first job. They're going to force you to start writing TypeScript. But since you are learning JavaScript, there's no big deal. It's easy to transition into writing TypeScript. They are both the same thing. Yeah, if you are writing TypeScript, then we are going to specify the data type that we are passing into a function. So if you are passing a data type into a function, you know whether that data is a number or boolean or a string. So, but in JavaScript, we don't specify the data type. Of course, the examples we did not specify the data types. But for TypeScript, you must specify the data types. That's the difference. But they are the same thing. The same way you write JavaScript is the same way you write TypeScript. And like I said, they're going to force you to start writing. Some companies do, some companies don't. So I tell most students, don't write TypeScript unless you have a need for TypeScript. So continue writing your JavaScript until you have a reason why you want to write TypeScript. Exactly like Java and C. So I notice when I use username equal to this as default value. Now this default value will not work because it's an empty string, but nevertheless it's also fine. My function works even without passing an argument. Is that a good practice? It's a good practice when you don't want to show anything by default. Yeah, this is a good practice. But if you want to show users, most time when people don't log into the platform, you want to show a particular image or a particular name, dear user or dear. Now, depend on how it is placed. If it's placed dear empty, you know that something's wrong. But if you say dear user, when the person's name is not there, it will make sense. But it's like I said, it depends on how your program is designed to work. If there should be a name, but if it's hi hi and there is no name, of course it still work fine. It looks good the same way. So let's continue from there. I'm going to create an index. Please bear with me today. Today's class is supposed to be a summary of everything, not like a summary of the things we have not completed. Just need to complete everything that is remaining so that we move on to writing backend code. So just bear with me. I would like to complete them. So here, and I want to believe you know this step that I'm taking. I'm not explaining it. I want to believe these things I'm doing now, there's nobody who's seen them for the first time. Are you trying to install Node.js? Yes. Continue installing and install your Node.js. And yes, I am recording. Alright, not this one. Let's continue. Bear with me. It has been a very stressful, the kind of shaft they shouted for me last night. Although it was not just me, it's a normal thing. We've seen it. Sometimes people will be sleeping by 12 a.m. and they are calling. Oh my god, my network is slow. Alright, just give me. Okay. Alright. I think we're back. Yes, we're back. So I've just created HTML and I've linked my file. How do we check if we have Node.js installed? If you have Node.js installed, just go ahead and type Node and hit enter. If it says welcome to Node, then you have Node. Or you type npm --v. Then if you see a version number, then you have installed. But if you don't, then please install it again and again until you see something. So do these things on your terminal, any of the terminal that you have, whether VS Code terminal or Git terminal, any terminal like that. Do this on the terminal. If you see a version number, alright, sorry, just give me a minute to restart this. Yeah, I think I need to restart. Alright, I want to believe it's stable now. If you can hear me, please drop a thumbs up. If you can hear me, please drop a thumbs up. Thank you. So how do you check? I've just dropped a command, type it in your terminal. If you see version number, there you have Node.js installed. Let's proceed. So there are a few things that is remaining before we round up. Let's say I have a variable like this and I call it A. A is equal to 5. If I have 5 as the value of my variable, my screen is off, sorry. Thought as much. I know I was missing something, but I don't know what it was. Please, if you can see my screen, let me know. Drop up if you can see my screen. Okay. So let's say I have a variable 5. The value of the variable is 5 and the A is 2. So I can check. I can do what is called if A is not equal to 5. Now, when you want to check when something is not there, we use exclamation mark. Exclamation mark is called negation. Negation. Something is not equal to. Now, I did something like this and I said coding is not equal to programming. So if you look at this, this means coding is not. So this exclamation mark means it is not, or maybe not there. So is not equal. So this is called negation. Once you see exclamation mark, negation is not. So when it is not equal to that, I want to console log first, for example. So I will need to open up this with live server. Please use please use the question topic so that I can see your question and then I can attend to it. So if you look at my terminal, or will I say console, there is nothing is showing there. The reason is because I'm trying to run this console log only when a is not equal to 5. But if you look at it, a is actually equal to 5. So but if I change it to 6 and save it, now you see first appears here because I only run this when a is not equal to 5. There's another way backend developers use it. For example, if you are expecting a variable called email and they don't give you email, so you then put negation like this. This means if not email. If not email, meaning when there is no email. If the user does not return or add email, so you want to say, please, we're going to use this a lot. You see how it is used. Please add or please enter your email. Anyone enter your email, or you say email is required. So we are using negation. We're using negation to check when there is an email. But if I remove this, if you look at this and I remove this one, these two if statements are not the same. These two if statements are not the same. One is checking for when there is an email. One is checking for when there is no email. They are not the same thing. Now, it's not only email, you can check for any variable. When there is the variable or when there is no variable. So, would it be possible to zoom your screen? Which of the screen? Is this screen okay? Which of the screen are you talking about? Should I zoom in on this one? It's going to look bad. Or which of the screen are you talking about? Let's see. Is it the terminal or is it VS Code? Terminal or VS Code? VS Code. Okay, let's see if I can zoom in. All right, I just did, so I think this will be better now. All right, so these two things are not the same. This is checking for when there is an email. This is checking for when there is no email, like that. Yeah, if you can zoom in from your own device, I think it will be better so that I have more room to write the code. I have more room to write. So this is how we check negations. Another thing is the return keyword. Return. Return is a very important keyword in JavaScript. It does, will I say 3 things or 2 things? But for now, it does 2 things that I can remember. 2 important things. What is return? Now, the same thing is return can simply say come back. When you say come back, that's come back. So the first time we use return is, for example, let's say I have a function and return is only used inside a function. so you don't use it outside of a function. Return something is a function. Maybe it accepts a variable called a and default value is 0, and then accept a default value, another value, and default value is 0. So this accepts two variables and their default values are 0. And then you come here and say const answer is equal to a plus b. Answer is a plus b, and then you say return answer. Return answer. Now, the first use for return is bring back something. Bring back something. You have done a task. What is the result of that task? Bring it back. Bring it back. So we have done a task here to add something. Whatever we add here, we store it inside answer. Whatever the value of answer is, you are saying return it back. So anywhere I call this variable, I am expecting something to come back there because I am using the return keyword. For example, I can come here and say const result, which is a variable. Now, I want to believe you understand all of these variables I'm creating their functions. But if you don't understand, please drop, gradually leaving the basics. Drop so that you follow along. And then I call it return something. And I pass in 2 and 3, or 4 rather. So I am calling this function here, which is this. Whatever this function is going to return, I am storing it inside result. Why? Because I know that I am using the return keyword. When I call this function and pass in values, it is going to do something. Whatever is the answer of what it has done, it will return it back to me. Then when it's returning it back, I am going to save it here. That's the first thing return does. You do something and you return it. It could be that the function is supposed to find a user. When you find the user, return that user. It could be that the function is supposed to find, when you find the user's wallet, return the user's wallet. It could be that the function is supposed to create a new user. When you create a new user, return the user. Somebody, I just remember something. Somebody, you know, some of you are funny. Somebody said this assignment is about function. Is a function we'll be writing? My dear, you have not started, you are complaining. You have not even started. If they meet you to build an application as a developer or as an engineer, what you will ask them is, what are the functionalities, or what are going to be the functionalities of this software? Maybe you ask them, or maybe they'll be the one to tell you the functionalities. But the key word there is what? Functionalities. Inside functionalities, the first thing that makes it up is what? Function. So every functionality they mention, we are writing function. That is it. So backend is all about functions. If you're going to work, it's functions. If it's not going to work, it means you do not write functions. So you're going to see a lot of functions. You'll be writing a lot of functions because functionality simply means functions. But as a developer, one function, you can break it into 2, into 3, into 4, and it becomes multiple functions. But the ideal is once you hear functionality, that is one function. For example, you're going to build a software. Users are going to log in. That's a functionality. You are going to build a login function. Users are going to register. That's a functionality. You're going to build a function that registers user. Users are going to see their result. That's another functionality. You write a function that checks users' result. Users are going to check whether they are up to 18 years. That's another functionality. You are going to write a function. So you're going to write so many functions. All right, back to what we are. So the first thing return does is that it checks. it does an arithmetic, and then it returns something to you. It doesn't only return numbers, it can return booleans, it can return strings, it can return objects, it can return array. It returns something. Whatever it's returning here, you can then save it into another variable because you know it will return something. So, but if you don't want it to return something and you just write console answer and then you remove this one, you know that this function is not going to return anything here. Nothing is coming back here. You go to console log and see your value. You're not going to get the value back. You go to console and see the value. The value is not here. So most times we return something when we want to use it for another situation. For example, no, there is no need returning. If you are writing, no, there's no, if there's no, this, you don't write return. Now, if you write this, yes, you just want to console log it. If you write this, CLG, and then paste this, yes, you can write this. This allows you to console log whatever that is being returned. It's the same thing. Yeah, this allows you to console log what is being returned. But the idea goes that you know that it is returning something. You are not console logging inside, you are console logging outside, because it is what is being returned that you will console log. So there are so many cases where you use return. You find something, you return that thing, you proceed with that. So we're going to use some of them for return. Now the second thing that return does is, I told you that return is only used in a function const find user is equal to an arrow function. Now I want to believe you remember what an arrow function is. Find user, and I say if not email. So this is supposed to accept the user's email. If you want to find every user, you either find them by their email or phone number or whatever. Return email is required. Okay, but or maybe just stick to return. There is no need for the message. Yeah, you can add the message. Ctrl Z. You can add a message if you want. No, for now, let's just leave this. All right, I have a function, another function. What this function does is it is supposed to find a user on the database. A function that finds a user on the database, but the function needs to accept the user's email. That is how it will know the user we are looking for, by their email. But we are now saying if there is no email, return. This return means come back, don't proceed, come back, don't proceed, don't do anything again, just come back. So the moment there is no email, come back, don't proceed. So you can use return to specify the last line that will run in any code. The last line that will run. So the last line here is 34. What about pass? Pass. I can't. I'm trying to find out how we use pass, why we use pass, and where to use it here now. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about return. Now, return keyword is very popular. That's what a lot of persons use. So this return keyword is more like come back. You use it to specify the last line that will run. So you can just come back here and say console log first, and then if I add another console log here, CLG second, you see that these things are not the same colors. The two console logs are not the same colors. Okay, so these are not the same colors because This is coming after a return keyword. We use return to specify which line will be the last line. Now, if I add anything after the return, it's going to block it out, and it says unreachable code detected. It is going to be unreachable. The moment you see return, whatever you add here, it will not reach there, because the last line that will run is this line 35. So you can use return to specify what is going to be the last line. But if I bring it outside, now it becomes the value. So this is going to run if this function continues. But this function will only continue when there is an email. If there is no email, it will return, and this will not even get to run. So that is the second thing return does. And I want to believe you understand at least these two things that return does. So you can choose to return something and also specify that that should be the last line at the same time. So which is possibly false. Return false or return, but there's a scenario where you get to use that, which is not here. We may get to that part. I just explain what return is. All right, if there is any question on return, you can drop questions. If there is none, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. What else are we going to round off with? Yeah, higher array functions. All right, that's for return. We treated negations, we treated return. Then let's talk about higher array functions methods. Hope there is no console log running anywhere. These are going to break because no, it will not break. If there's an email, it will not break. It's not going to cause issue. This one, the same thing. So let's assume I have a variable const students is equal to an array. Now I want to believe you remember what arrays are. Yes, I hope so. You remember what an array is. So I have an array of objects. The first value here is the first name, and then the first name I'll just add it as David. Then the next thing I want to add is maybe the score. Now I don't want to use too much variables, so I'm just going to use small variable. The next thing I'm going to use is location, and then the location I can say Port Harcourt. We've not got to do that. So you've not. Yes, that's what I meant. There is DOM. DOM is strictly used on the front end. As a backend developer, I don't think you'll be using DOM, JavaScript DOM. We've not reached there. We may not reach there because that is not the area we are going. And like I explained, the goal is to write backend. So whatever we need to write it, the areas we need, we're not here to learn coding. Coding is where they teach you everything. They just teach you the basics of everything. But build it becomes a problem. So the goal is to build something. Everything you need to learn along the way to build it. That's what we are learning. And I believe you got me when I said that. So here I have another object. I'll just duplicate this one. And I'll change the name to Joy. The score could be 30, and for Joy I might put Benin or Edo. Benin, let's put Benin. Just put it Benin, and then I'll duplicate it to just have maybe Ibrahim. I might put this to be 80, and then I'll say can. So we have an array. This is an array. This array has 3 items. Objects. These are objects too. Now each object has a first name, score, and location. Now, you can liken this to be like maybe JAMB or any organization. This is that data appears arrays of objects. When you start building your own data, your data will also appear either as an array of objects or objects that contains array, however you want to arrange it, but you will still see arrays and objects together like this. So what are higher array methods? Higher array methods are array loops. They are loops that run in seconds. If you have 1 million files, the array the array method is going to loop through the whole file, loop through everything in seconds, faster and better than any other loop we have studied. So these loops, for today, we're going to look at for the next one is going to be map, and then we do filter. So we have higher array methods. There is sort, and there is also reduce, like that. Arrays. Now arrays are variables. This is a variable that hold multiple values. Now, these are multiple values, even though they are objects. They are multiple values. You can have arrays of strings, arrays of numbers, sorry, give me a minute. Sorry, I was choking, so I had to take water. Alright, back to arrays. Now at this point, I don't think if I explain arrays, you understand it. But arrays are variables that hold multiple values. Thank you. Thank you. They are variables that hold multiple values. It can hold multiple strings or multiple numbers, multiple booleans, objects, as the case may be, just multiple values. But for this case, our arrays has multiple objects. We call them, so I'm confused about something like, is it only the values that are written in quotes, or the keys are also be written in quotes? Now, the reason why you are confused is because you've left the part that I'm teaching you, you've seen the parts that I have not taught you. These keys can also appear in quotes in some cases, but it's no longer an object. If you look at my object here, you see that the only things that appear in quotes are strings. So let me add another key so that we successful, or will I say success? For this person, success is true. You passed. For this person, I want to add another key. Success is false. For this person, I'm going to add true. So if you look at it, I have only strings that appear in quotes. Every other thing here appears as data type. But if you see everything in quotes, you see this in quotes, you see this in quotes, everything in quotes, just know that it's JSON. Sorry. All right, let's continue. The devil is a liar. So if you see everything in quotes, then know that you are seeing a JSON. It's called JSON. As a backend developer, you will be communicating with the front end by sending data to them. The format with which you send and receive data is called JSON. So if you are sending data to the front end, you send it as JSON. If you are receiving data from the front end, it is sent to you as JSON. That is when you see this object appearing in double quotes. It must be double quotes. So when you see everything appearing in double quotes, then that is a JSON. But if they are not in double quotes, this is an object like this. So object looks like JSON, JSON looks like object. But the difference is that for JSON, everything appears in double quotes. Whether they are strings, numbers, booleans, everything, including the keys, also appear in double quotes. I think I answered that. Doesn't JavaScript have collection or only arrays are used to store objects? Only arrays, only arrays, only arrays. All right, we're going to look at the first higher array method called forEach. Please, please, please pay attention to this. This is very, very important. You are going to be using it. Now, the name of my array is called students. When I call forEach does something for each of the items in the array. That is why it's called forEach. ForEach means you are using this loop to do something for each of the items in the array. You can say loop through the entire students and add 10 marks for each student. Or look through the entire array, subtract 10 marks, maybe not 10, 2 marks for each student. So for each, it's used to loop through the entire array and do something, not just to subtract or add marks. You can say loop through the entire array, console log the first name for each student, or console log the score for each student. So that is forEach. You use it to do something for each of the items in the array, and that is why it's called forEach. So I'll come here, I'll call the array. The array is called students, then forEach. So I have called forEach on the array. This is the array, students, and I called the array first and then added dot forEach. Now, what do I want to do? I have called forEach on the array. What do I want to do? This is where a callback function comes in. My last explanation, I said a callback function is a function inside another function. So that is called a callback function. When you have a function inside a function, the function inside is called a callback function. This forEach that we have called here is a function. How do you know it's a function? Because it is invoked with what? Parentheses. This is how we invoke a function. you add what? Parentheses. So, but this for each now doesn't know what to do, but it knows that whatever you want to do it for each of the items. So it doesn't know what you want to do, but it knows that you want to do it for each of the items. So it is the callback function that you will use to tell it what you want to do for each of the items. So inside here, you can then write your function. It can be an arrow function, it can be a normal function, either one. So, but inside the for each now, you then write your function and do what you want to do for each of the items. So I'm going to write a normal function first. This is a function like this, and open it up. So I have a function, it doesn't have a name. A callback function may or may not have a name. So this function doesn't have a name. That's why it's a callback function. It's a function inside the function. So what do I want to do? I want to console log. Sorry, before you console log. Inside here, it accepts each item. So this is called each. The each here is each item. So you can then say console log each dot first name. So if you look at it, now this looks a little complex, I understand, but if you pay attention to it, it's pretty easy. It's very easy. We're calling for each on the students array. Then we write a callback function inside it. The callback function accepts each item. It accepts each item. Now, what do we want to do for each item? We are console logging each dot first name, the first name of each item. So if I come here, my is it running uncut error email is not I knew it was going to throw errors. So let me just define an email here. Const email is equal to an empty string. So save that. I knew it was going to throw an error. So I have 73, 17. You know what? Just remove this thing. 7 and remove this. David and Joy. Where is David and Joy coming from? David and Joy. Oh, sorry. It's looking through here. Now the first thing here is David. And if you look at it, that's the first person here. The second person here is Joy. That's the person here. The third person is Ibrahim, which is this guy here. So for each does something for each item. That's what it does. So we can look through the entire items and then do something. Now we can set the score and then add 10 marks to the score. So what we are doing is we are taking each person's score and we are adding 10 marks to that score. Then we console log the score. So if I save it now and come back here, you see the first person is scoring 60. The second person's score now is 40. The next person's score is 90. So that's what for each does. You can use it in so many ways. We use it in so many ways, but this is just the basics of how you use it. But normally I don't write it like this. I write mine like this. Students dot for each. Inside this for each, I'm going to put an arrow function. And you said arrow function is just the parenthesis, the fat arrow, and then curly braces. Inside here, if I open it up, I can then accept each student here, and then console log each dot score plus 10, and then see it. It runs the same thing. This one stops here and this one continues here. This is for each. Now after for each, we have another one called map, the mapping. What mapping does, this is map. Mapping is very, very important. You are going to use it a lot of the times. A lot. Const map students is a variable. You know what? Before I map students, what's the function of an arrow function? Now, arrow function is still a function. You want to use it to do something. That's the function. A function can either be the normal function or arrow function. It depends on what you want to write. So if you like the arrow function, you write arrow function. If you want the normal function, you write the normal function. But the difference is this is hoisted and this is not hoisted. What hoisted means is this one can be called even before it is defined. But this one cannot be called before it is defined. You must define it first before you call it. So that's the difference between the arrow function and the normal function. But apart from that, both of them are just functions that you can use. So I'll comment this out and then come back to map. So I will say students dot map. Yes, you guessed it right. Now, we are calling map here. This map will also accept a callback function. What does mapping do? Mapping is a loop. It's going to loop through the entire student array and return a new set of an array. So, what that means is, here you have arrays of objects. Mapping is going to loop through this array and either return a new array of just their first name or return a new array of or return a new array of a few objects. It can return anything, but it is returning a new set of array from the original array. So that is what mapping does. Mapping returns a new set of array. Yeah, mapping doesn't have this keyword, doesn't. No, not mapping actually, arrow function. I mixed it up. So mapping is a higher array method that will look through an array and return a new set of array, depending on the condition you put. You can say return only their first name, return only their score, or return the people that score above 100. No, that's for another one, based on the condition. So, but let's come back. Here I'm going to use an arrow function. Now you can do this without arrow functions. You can do the normal function, but I think arrow functions are cleaner to write. So when you call .map, inside the map function, you can put an arrow function. Now this arrow function here is now a callback function, and a callback function is a function inside a function. So I can come here and say map, return for me. Now it's going to accept each item. So return for me each dot first name. So what I'm saying here is that loop through the entire student array. For each item, return each person's first name. Alright, if the normal function is understandable, we can still write the normal function. They're the same thing. The map, if I write my own function and you feel like you understand it better with normal function, then you can write the normal function. Then we accept the each here. Then here we say return each dot first name. It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. So what we are saying is loop through the student array or map through the student array. For each item, return their first name for each item. Now, because it's returning something, save it somewhere. So we'll save it inside here. Good. Before, I used to put students. Sorry, this is what I normally do. Because I am mapping students plural, whatever I'm mapping here becomes singular for each one. So if the name of the array is students plural, each array, each item, I can call it student for each student. So for each student, return each student the first name. For each student, return each student the first name. Now you can do that. The each keyword is not compulsory. I am using the each so that you will understand that the thing I'm writing here represents each item. That is why I use the keyword each. But you can use any keyword. So, but I'm using it so that you will understand that it references each item like that. But you can call it singular. If it's students, you can call it students. If it's whatever it is, you call it a singular form. All right, but since it's returning something, it is returning something. You can then save it inside the variable. So this is what I'll say. I'll say save it inside a variable called mapped students. The same thing here. Save it inside a variable called map students. Map student 2, like this. So now I have my map being used in two ways, the normal function or the arrow function. Now I can console log the two of them. Console log two of them. The first one is map student, which is this one. The second one is going to be map student 2, which is this one. Please, if you don't understand, don't allow me go forward. It is very important you understand. Oh my God, simply, can we return first name and last name? Yes, you can, and we're going to do that. So why are you opening the second curly braces where you write the return function? Whose second brace? Here. Now, this curly, which of the curly braces? This one, because it's a function. Sorry, let me get your question. So why are you opening the second curly braces where you write the return function? This is the return function. Favor, please use the mic. Tell me what the issue is. Please, Favor, can you request for the mic, or you don't want to speak? Please request for the mic so that I will see you. It will be easier to see you and then give you the mic. Favor, I'm trying to understand this question. I'm still not confident about the map and forEach. They seem alike. No, they are not alike. We're going to try it again. Well understood. Sir, please explain this map again and what's the difference between map and forEach. Okay, we're going to explain that. So what is map doing differently? All right. Favor, please go ahead. Explain your question. Hello, Favor. All right. Let's explain. Afternoon. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, that curly brace, the second curly brace within, for example, where you wrote const map students, is map students dot map, then open bracket function, curly open bracket students. Yes, that curly brace, that one now that the cursor is on. I just want to understand why
Okay.
you're opening that curly brace.
Normally we write a function like this and then we name it and then put bracket and curly braces. This is how we name a function normally. Sorry, this keyword is not spelled well. This is how we write a function, a normal function. It comes with curly braces normally. Now the difference between this function and this function is that this one has a name but this one doesn't have a name. You can write a function that has a name here if you want. You can use this one, bring this one and put it inside here, but that's like an advanced topic. You can put this function here, replace it here, and use it outside. It must not be inside, it can be outside, however you want to switch it. So, but this curly braces here and this parenthesis and this function keyword means that it is not a complete function without these curly braces. That is why I am writing these curly braces here, because this part is a function and it's not complete without the curly braces. All right, what is the difference between for each and mapping? Let's say, for example, I think we had what is it called? Your CareerEx. On CareerEx, all of you get to see your leaderboard. Now, your has everybody's name and it has everybody's first name and last name, score, and all of that. This part now is just showing some part of your information. It's not showing all of your information. The part. What is the part? The first name and the last name and your image. Just 3 information about you. That is all. But these are not the information. The only informations you have on the system. You have your location. You have your phone number. You have your email. You have other informations. But it's just getting a few. And it's returning the same thing for everybody. So, what mapping does is, mapping is going to return just some information, not all the information, some from the main information. So the main information here is about 4 keys. If we want the entire 4 keys, there is no need to map. Just use the student array the way it is. Use it like that. But you don't want to use the entire thing. You want to select a few keys. So you map. Mapping with a new set of an array, but with fewer keys, not the entire array. That's what mapping does. So it's going to give you a new array. Let's assume I want to create a new array from this thing, but this new array should only contain first name. That's it. Or maybe contain only the first name and score. That is it. For example, somebody say, can we return first name and last name? Yes, we can. I can turn this into an object, and I say return a new object. The object you are returning, call the first key here first name, like this. Sorry, that spelling is not okay, but at least, and then return the score, and then here you call it student dot score. So it is going to return a new array, but inside this array now it contains object, like just 2 information for each student. Everybody just two information, not the entire thing. That's what array mapping does. It will return a new array, whether it's just one thing you want or a new object for each student, or just, but not the entire thing. That's what mapping does. For each does not return anything. You see, here we use the keyword return, but in for each we did not use return because it doesn't go and come back. It does it there on the spot. It doesn't return. It will do something there for each one immediately. It doesn't go and come back. This one will go and come back, bring something back. It will return something new. But for each, it doesn't return anything. You can always look them up at any point in time. And all of them are like loops. They will loop too. In fact, they are loops. All of them are loops. But some return something, some do not. Exactly. Map returns an array, a new array from an existing array. All right. This third one is filter. Why does a callback function has no name? That's what it is. A function has a name because you can call it in another place. That is why it has a name. A callback function will not wait for you to call it. It is already there. So it will run automatically. It doesn't wait to be called. So the name is not needed. If you put a name, it will wait for you to call it. You have to call it by the name. So that is why a callback doesn't have a function. It runs an anonymous function. That is called anonymous function or an unnamed function. So map is always written in a variable which store. Not like it is always written. You know that map will return something for you. So if it returns something for you, where do you keep what is going to return? That is why you store it inside a new variable. This is a return keyword. You know it is returning student's name. So where will you put it? It's going to be in a variable. So this is more like, this is going to be the name of my new array. That's what this is. This is the name of my new array. I think we've taken longer to explain this. You define the functionality the same way you define functionality for any function. The difference is that it doesn't have a name. The name is what you are supposed to call it, but not the one calling it. It is inside the function already. So the function will call it automatically, not you. And that is why the name is not required, because you are not the one calling it. Unlike these ones here, this is called find user. This find user will not run automatically until I call it, because it has a name. But if it is inside a function, I don't need to be the one to call it. If it's inside the function, I want it to run automatically like that. So what is advisable to create a return name before map? Or so what is advisable to create a return name before map? I'm trying to understand what that question is, but what's his name? Omaye, please request for the mic so that I give you the mic and you explain your question. Please ask your questions very well, because you need to understand these ones. The third one, where is he? Yes, please use the mic. What is your question? Go ahead. I've given you the mic, right? Unmute yourself first, and then you can speak. The
Can you
third
hear me, sir?
one, yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I said, if you already know that you want to map and collect a data, let me use that, from the list, the array of students, and is going to
Okay.
return another array, is it advisable to create the name, the function that is going to return, or after it return it before you create another the function student.firstname?
Okay. I still did not understand, but let me try and explain from this perspective. You can mute.
What I'm saying, automatically will you create code that is going to return?
You are the one to write the return now. Is that the question? Or
Okay, the list. Okay, wait. The list that is coming, the student first name.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Where is it going to be? Where is it going to be?
yeah.
Hmm. Student two.
Not for this function it will store here. For this function it will be stored here.
Okay.
That's the question.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's not going to display like the first and the earlier.
No, it's not going
Oh.
to display. When it
So
is
if you want to do,
returned, then it
yes.
will display it.
If you want to do anything, you just be making reference to
To the
map
name. Yeah.
students. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
to the
ma'am.
name. You're welcome. All right, you can mute now. Yeah, finally for each, the filter is also a loop, but this is very, very important. We use it a lot. What if you want to map to return more than one? As many as you want to return, just keep adding them here. But if you want to return everything, there is no need for mapping. So, if these are 4 items and you still go and map and return 4 items, you have not done anything. You just use the array like that. But you use mapping when you don't want to return, don't want to use everything, just return a few sets of things to display. That's when you use mapping. So filter will also return something, but based on a condition. Filter is also a loop. Show example with two, please. What is two? With two, how? What do you mean two? Uh, Show example with two. I think you say your name will be IG will also. Please, can you request for the mic? Let map return 2 items. Yes, that's what we did here. We are returning 2 items here. We are returning the first name. We are returning the score. Here we are returning only one thing. Even though this is a normal function, you can still return two things inside this arrow function. All right, it's fine. Now this is returned as an object. You can also return it as a string, two of them together as a string. So you can say return and then pass in concatenation and say return this, say first name, but that's like a different thing. First name, and then here space, curly braces, then say each, not each rather, but student dot first name, then comma, say here should be the score, and student dot score. So this is going to be returned as a string. If you look at it, it's just going to be one line of string. The first name concatenated with this variable, the score concatenated with this variable. This is like, if you are, depending on how you want to use it, you are returning, this is returning two things as one string, but this is returning two things but as an object. So it depends on what you want, like that. So two strings as one, as a string as like that, and then an object with two variables the same way. But you just know that mapping is going to return a new set for you. How you want that set to look like is entirely up to you. So the filter, this is filter. Filter is going to return something but based on a condition. You need to give it a condition to return something. Sorry, what am I writing? So here I will say each. Now, like I said, the each is not compulsory. You can call it anything, but I'm just calling it each because I want you to know that it is each student. So for each student, return each student where the student score is greater than 50. So what I'm saying here is that look through the entire students. Pick each student. Return that student if their score is greater than 50. That is a condition. The condition here is that the student to be returned, their score must be greater than 50. If their score is not greater than 50, the student will not be returned. So let's try it. I'm going to save this inside a variable called filtered students, and then console log it, clg filtered students, and save it. So where is my, Did it run? Okay, live server is down, so I open it again. Let's see that it's running. All right, so it's returning, and then I'll run this again so that it'll be clear. So it's returning just one object. If you look at it, it's an array, but just what? One object. Without opening it, you know what object that will be. It is returning the student details. Student score is greater than 50. So if I open it and then open this, you see that this person's score is greater than what? 50. Now, even though this person scored 50, the condition was that it should be greater than what? 50. So, but if you want to also include the people that their score is up to 50, you say greater than or equal to 50. So if you save this now, you see now it's returning two objects, because these are only the students that their score is greater or equal to 50. That's for filter. So if you check the score, this is 50, and you check the score, this is 80. So filter returns something. Maybe it will return the student or the wallet, or return the account balance, or return the jam score. It returns anything, but based on a condition. Now, this is just one condition. We can write another condition here. We can say cons students by location. We can say filter all the students. Take the students dot filter all the students. Now I'm using an arrow function. You can use your normal function here, but return. I'll need to take each student here first. Each return where each student dot location is equal to Port Harcourt. So it can happen that as a webmaster or the backend, they say we want to see only students that wrote jam from Port Harcourt, or only companies that are located in Port Harcourt, or only companies that are in Lagos. Whatever the condition is, filter does that for you. Filter returns something, but based on a condition. So if I save this and decide to console log students by location and save it, you know that it's going to return one object, and that object or that student, their location must be what? Port Harcourt. You can also change it. Return the student from Benin and save it. So if I check it again, it should return only the student that's from Benin. So filter is going to loop through the entire array and return a new array, but based on a condition. Map doesn't need a condition. It just returns a new array of what you want. It returns a new array with the details you want, the only details you want. Then for each is going to loop through the entire thing and do something for each one on the spot. It will just do something. It doesn't return anything. You just do something for each one. So these three. Now there is also sort, and there is also reduce. Sort is when you want to arrange it. Maybe like your student score, it was arranged based from the highest to the lowest. That's sort. Reduce is when you want to sum up everybody's score. You just add up everything. Now we're going to go look at them later, but I want you to understand these three. Very, very important. Now you use them. In fact, use these two more than any other one here. Reduce, you get to use reduce if you're working for an e-commerce, here if you're working for students or something like that. But these two are very, very important. That's why I want you to understand them. So any question, can you use filter for more than one condition? Actually, you can tack on more than one loop together. So say for instance, after you return the students that are from Benin, I want only their first name. I don't want. It returns a new one. It doesn't change the array. So you can actually tack on dot mark here. After you have filtered and you return the students that are from Benin, then again return only their first name. Now I know that the first name you are going to be returning are just students from Benin. So return only their first name. So this is not going to return the entire object for that student. It's going to only return the student first name. So if I save this and come here, I'm not console logging it, sorry. So I should just console log student by location and save it. So if you come here, it's console logging only Joy, because Joy is the only person from Benin. You can tack on one object. Now, but in a case where you want to tack on two, you can say if their score is greater than 50 and their location is equal to Benin. This is how you can tack on two conditions. If their score is great, let me console log filter student. Joy, is Joy score? I think Joy score. Joy is the only person from Benin, but we need to check if Joy score is greater than 50 because it's returning an empty array. So Joy is from Benin and Joy score is 30. That is why it is returning an empty array, because the condition says that their score has to be greater than 50 and their location must be what? Benin. That is why it comes at them. So you can tack on two conditions in one line, or you tack on two filters together, or three filters as the case might be. So any other question? Any other question? Nobody will ask questions. This is how your assignment comes. So if I give you a question, say this is an array, you know what? Let's just do one task. This is what I'm going to do. I'll say const. No, I can't write it because it's too plenty. I'll have to write an array first. So, but let's look at this mapping here. Let's say I want to return only the users that success is true. If you can do it, drop a thumbs up. Only for users that their success is true. If you can do it, drop a thumbs up. You want to return only the user that success says true, for only those users. If you can do it, drop a thumbs up. All right, so if you understand all we have done from the beginning, starting from creating a variable, creating object, IG, is that IG? Or where is your challenge? Please request for OG. Please request for the mic and tell me where is your challenge. Please, where are you having challenges? Please. So, but for others, if you understand what we've been doing so far, from creating a variable, object, arrays, loop, if or else statement, which one do we use for searching in e-commerce? You want to search for a product. You're the one building it now. Nobody will build that for you. So as a backend developer, you are going to build an API. Your API will search for product based on the name. you write it. It's not given to you, so you'll be the one to write it. So, but we're going to see how to write it, so don't worry, we're going to see it. So I'm waiting for Audie. Where were you lost? Benjamin, at what point did you get missing? But please, if you don't understand what we have done so far from the beginning, please go and revise it. But if you do, then we are ready to start writing backend code for tomorrow. The last thing I want to cover is GitHub. It's very important that you submit this week's assignment with GitHub. We have passed Google Drive. So you cannot be writing backend code and you are using Google Drive. It's not possible. We are writing backend code from next week. So where is Benjamin? Benjamin, please request for the mic. At what point did you get lost? Any other person with any other question, please ask your question. Benjamin. Okay. Are you sure Benjamin is on this call? Please request for the mic. Okay, like what you said, sir, which function is preferable to use when you want success true? Success true. Now, you know that you want to return only users that their success is true. You just know that that is a condition. Success true, that is a condition. Which of this loop returns something based on a condition? That is how you know which loop to use. Now, the only loop that returns something based on a condition is filter. Yes, mapping is going to return something, but not based on a condition. It returns something, just the list of what you want. It returns what you want, but not based on a condition. forEach doesn't even return anything in the first place. It just does something, return anything. So sorted is going to arrange them, either highest number, lowest number, alphabetical order, however, not alphabetical actually. And then reduce just sums up everything. Reduce with sum up. We use it to calculate the sum of maybe sum of prices, sum of something, just sums it up. But we're going to look at them later. But these three are important. All right. Any other question? Let's continue. I want to look at Git and GitHub. We don't have time to look at, but it's very important we look at Git and GitHub. Git and GitHub is very, very important for everybody who's going to be a backend developer. Yes, download Git, download Node.js, download Postman. It is called Postman. Now, if you go to the resources topic, I dropped it there. Go to the topic, you see Postman. Postman is very important. Download the three of them. You need the three of them. So back to GitHub. Please submit this week's assignment with GitHub. And also, there are people who use all their projects in one folder. Why are you doing that? If you put all your projects in one folder, two things are bound to happen. Number one, you are telling the recruiter you don't know what you are doing. Yes, thank you for this. We need to look at this. This is very important. Yes. So I'll come here. One last thing. Const A, not A. Let's say C is equal to 5. If A is equal to 5, then console log something. Now, this is very important. This is very important. What do we call them? The double equal or triple equal. It's very, very important. Some persons, no, this is not it. It has to be double equal or triple equal. This is it. So it is either double equal or triple equal. Single equals is used for assignment operator. Like this now, you are assigning the value that is being returned into this. So you cannot be assigning true into this. So single is not used for comparison. It's used to assign a value. So to compare, you use double equals or triple equals. So I want to explain the difference between double equals and triple equals. What is the difference? If I have this is going to run, I think so. Got in the GitHub I want to teach, but I'm gonna do it. It's also important. So remove this and save this. Cons C is equal to this. So if C is equal to 5, console log first. Now we have first like this. If I do triple equals and save it, it will also console log first. Now the two of them actually are console logging first. The question is why? And what is the difference between the two of them? Now double equals only checks the value. If the values are the same, it will just compare them and return true or false. It just checks the value. So what I mean is, if I change this, you know that this is 5. The value is 5. But the data type here is a string because it has quotes. But here, the value is also 5. But the data type here is a number. So they are the same value, but they are not the same data types. But if I save it, it still works and it returns first because double equal only checks the value. But if I put triple equals and check, you see nothing comes out here. Triple equals is very strict. It checks both the value and the data type. It will check the value first. Yes, the values are 5 and 5, but they are not of the same data type. So it will skip this, it will not run. But a double equal is not very strict. It's just going to check the value. If they are the same, it's fine. It moves on because they are what? The same value. But triple equals is very strict. It doesn't only check the value. It will check the value and also check the data type. They must be the same value and they must also be the same data type. As a backend developer, you're going to be having issues with this. Let me explain where you will be having that issue. So let's say I have this and I have a const d is equal to 5. And I say console log for me C plus D. I'm trying to console log C plus D like this and save it. If you come here, you see the value is 55. The value is 55. It's an issue because this is supposed to be 10, but it's returning 55. But what you can do is be sure that they are the same data type before you use it. So by default, the backend, the front end is sending to you is definitely going to be a string because it's coming from a form. Yes, one checks the value and the other checks the type. What if you are familiar with Thunder Client instead of Postman? If you are, that is also Insomnia. If you are good with Insomnia, I don't know if Insomnia is still in existence. Anyone you are good with, so long as you are good in it, it is not what I will be using. I will be using Postman. But if you know how to use Thunder Client, it's fine. Anyone you know how to use. But is about to go out down coming. Before that, I want to know if lecture still host tomorrow. No, there will be no class tomorrow. So when am I to compare two objects of this, even if they have the same properties, it's still return false. Why is that? When you compare two objects with this, I don't understand what you mean object. Do you mean this kind of object? Where is it? The I'm not seeing my object. You mean this kind of object? All right. So I want to believe everybody knows
Yes, sir.
the difference. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Please, what is Node.js is asking me I should install chocolate
Which operating system are you using?
Windows.
Which one is chocolate? I don't think I've seen chocolate on Node.js. Node.js downloads. You click the download button. You come here.
Is
If you come to this screen, have you been here?
yes, yes. I've downloaded the executive.
No. This one.
Node.js runtime. What?
If I come by clicking this alone,
Yes,
you download.
it will download, right?
Yes. Once you click on this, it will start downloading.
Then,
Start
then
downloading.
I'm trying to run the file now. There's a checkbox that says I should, yeah, I should automatically install the necessary tools. Note that this
Okay,
install
that's like it's
should
walking you through the installer.
yes.
It's walking you.
It says
Just click
the
yes and
script will
proceed.
pop up.
Yes, 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 yes.
I'll check the box.
Yes, just go with yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me. Just click yes. Is the installer. Click yes, 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 and proceed.
Okay.
All right. Finally, GitHub. Please do not submit assignments. Now, it's not for my own sake. For me, I understand it. I can walk through your assignment, but most times I can actually mix it up. If you put everything in the same folder, I'll mix it up. I might. But again, the reason for pushing these things is to save your files and also show it to people. It could be HR, it could be whatever, whoever you're applying to. By the time they come here, they see more than one. If you look at my repositories, it says 167. It doesn't mean I've worked on only 157 times. It means you can see 157 different projects. And that is why I don't like keeping this file. Now, by the time I'm adding a new of your file, I will remove it because people may come to my repo and look at it. So you too, you should have, what will I call it? It serves as your experience. If you want to show somebody what you have done, because that is the question they will ask you, what have you done in the past? During the course of this class, you should have done 20 assignments, 20 at least, that you can comfortably show them. Now, they may not have all the time to see 20. You may just show only one or two. But if they come here and they see that you have at least something, they will not judge you as a novice. Exactly. So as a backend developer, your repo, at least by the time you're done with your project, you should have more items. I'm going to push it. That's what I want to push today. So for those who don't know, how to use it, this is how we use it. When you come to the page like this, either you click on new. But first you need to create an account. Create an account with GitHub account. Now your GitHub account is like your bank account. They will pay you for projects. those projects that you are paid for, the codes are supposed to be hidden. The people that wrote OP, I don't think in their life they will want you to see the codes that OP runs on. They can actually give you their bank details, their ATM card and anything, but you see the codes that OP runs, they will not show it to you. So your GitHub account is like your bank account. Whatever you are paid for has to be secret, but the ones you are not paid for can be seen. So that is why you must have a GitHub account. This is where you click on to create a new repository, or you click here to create a new repository. A new repository simply means folder. GitHub calls it repository, but you and I knows that it is folder. It means folder. So that is why you don't drag a folder and drop, because you are dragging a folder into another folder. Rather, you drag the items in the folder and drop in this new folder. Mind you, we are going to look at using git commands later, not now. So you click on new, you create, I'm going to give called JavaScript functions, or call it array functions, JavaScript array functions. So keep it public and then click on create. You don't need to do anything else. Just give it a name and then create. But if you are paid for it, then you need to set it on private. So you click on create repositories and it will open it. Like I said, we're going to learn about git commands later. When I know that you're now mature to handle git commands, we'll treat it. But for now, just click on upload an existing file. This is it here. It says upload an existing file. By clicking upload an existing file, it will tell you drag and drop the files here. So you go to your folder where you have it. So I think I have I will just say review in File Explorer. I have it here. So you just drag these two things and you drop them here, then click commit. That is it. You drag them, then drop them here and click commit. That is it. You don't need to do anything else. The git command will come later towards the end of the class. When we are not deploying the backend, we'll use git commands and then I'll show you that. So I will highlight, drag and drop, and it will start uploading them here. It's uploading and it's done. Then you click commit changes. It's committed. Now you have your items here. If you click here, you can copy the link to share, or you click here and copy the link to share. They're the same thing. And also, when I share a code with you and you come to this place, you can choose to download it. Click here. Sorry, don't click there. Click on code and say download zip. Sorry, I want to save that. So what if you mistakenly save an important project as public? If you save it as public, you can come here to settings and then change it. Where is this thing again? You can change it. Yeah, change repository visibility. This repository is currently public. If you click change, it changes it from public to private. You can also change it from private back to public, which you shouldn't do, except you want to, which you shouldn't do. But what is important is downloading the codes. That is what we call cloning. I'm going to teach you how to clone, but now you can just download it as a zip file into your system, so that if I delete my own, you still have your own copy, because I will always delete my own. So you click here and it will download as a zip file into your folder, which is this. Then you unzip it and you have access to the codes. like that. So I'm going to share these codes with you. Copy the link, come to resources and share. All right. Any other question before we call it a day? Any other question? So, but like I said, apart from learning codes, apart from learning how to write programs, personality also matter. As a backend developer, you need patience, you need endurance, you need conflict resolution. Like, you are the last person if to complain, but not financially actually. If the company is not paying you well, you should complain. If you want to leave, you should also leave. But know that everything falls you. Anything that is not working on the app, it falls at your table. Except you have a good project manager or a good CEO that will take the blame sometimes, which they don't. Nobody likes taking the blame. They don't. They will just push the blame to you. It's not me that did it, or it's the backend person is responsible. And they start calling you, even though it's in the midnight, like that. So, any other question before we call it a day? I think we pretty much covered everything. Any questions? Okay. If if I'm interested in learning Git and GitHub, okay. I will treating the other loops next week. Next week we'll start writing backend code, setting up our server, creating APIs. While we're doing that, whatever we need to also pick up, we'll do it. If we're gonna be using reduce, we do. But reduce is not that difficult. It's just one line. If you know it. The same thing with sort. The ones that are actually difficult are the ones we've treated. And but they are important. That's why we also treated them. But we're gonna look at other ones. But next week we'll start writing and Node.js. Any other question? Is there something we're forgetting? No. The syllabus. Well, I'm going to share backend syllabus with you. Now, I have it. I don't know why. I'm going to find it and I share it with you. It's on a drive, so I'll find it and share it with you. The last week assignment, which is with 3, you created me 9. You graded me 9, which I did everything. I don't know. Is it because all the answers were in the same file? No, no, no. It can't be because the answers are all in the same file. There has to be something else. So now, if I grade you 9, it means you actually got everything, like the function, but there is 1 or 2 areas where it would have been improved. If you share the code with somebody else, the user, they may likely fail it in an exam. That's why you're getting 9. So 9 means you got everything right, but you didn't get it perfect. It wasn't perfect. But if you got 10, 10 means everything was perfect. From the way you name till the last thing, everything was perfect. So, but 9 means you got everything, you did everything, but not perfect. Not perfect. So maybe you should look at it. Hopefully, you should be ready by tomorrow. But please remember to mark your attendance tomorrow. All right, I think that's the end. I will see you guys next week, Saturday. Bye bye for now.